Hey Ty, it's a little bit windy out here today. Let me know if you can hear me okay. I'm showing a picture of the cell towers there because I had to ride, I'm almost at mile 20 to get cell coverage today. So it's good to see these things here. Cell phone towers, I look for those all over the place these days. Oh, it's funny when they're camouflaged as trees. Alright, so we are going through a canyon called Window Rock. And this is day 22. We got a little bit of a late start today. Okay, a really late start. Because we decided to move the RV up to Gallup, New Mexico from Holbrook. We were scheduled to stay in Holbrook till Saturday, but we just didn't want to ride today and then have a 2-hour drive back, and then tomorrow I'll have a 2.5-hour drive back. So we just decided to go ahead and preempt the move. Plus we were really struggling with the Wi-Fi in Holbrook, so being in a little bigger city in Gallup, we'll hopefully be able to get I know we'll be able to get our blogs out and our videos that we've got in the queue. So we watch it for those. We have a YouTube channel that's slowly being populated. The replays of these video blogs, my own video blogs are at that YouTube channel. You just have to type in to the search in YouTube, Freedom Ride 2316, all one word, lowercase. Find all our videos, they're all tagged with my name. Additionally, I'll be putting links to each day for my video blog into my blog, my actual written blog, which is born26.com /Brad, B-R-A-D. That's born26, BORN26.com /BRAD. I've got 3 days, the first 3 days in there, or 4 days, and then yesterday's I have in there. So if you'd like to join the discussion there in the comments, I'd really love that. So yeah, Ty made a comment. I don't know if you can see those or not, but Ty makes a comment. What did we do before Wi-Fi? And it's hard to imagine. I was explaining to Matthew today what the little E meant on his phone when it showed the network. I think that was the Edge network. It was before 3G. And, we didn't even know what that was. It hasn't been that long since we had Wi-Fi, but it seems like all of our lives revolve around it now, so it seems like forever. So as you look at the canyon walls, you're going to see these little windows carved out, and all over the place here. We are on the Navajo Indian Reservation, so there's lots of Native American stuff here, and it's pretty cool to think that these people lived here for generations and generations, centuries upon centuries. What a beautiful heritage. And geologically speaking, the reason why you see those windows in the rocks it's the way the rock is fracturing. These rocks are, before they became rocks, they were sand dunes. And they're from the Jurassic period of the Earth. So we're talking about somewhere around 200 million years ago. When the dinosaurs were just getting going. This area was a very arid desert, just like the Sahara Desert today. That's what you're seeing here. That Sahara Desert will end up like rocks like this one of these someday, millions of years. You see the windows in the rocks. So hold on, I need to change my gear, keep my pace up. Trying to beat the sunset tonight, so trying to stay above 17, 18 mile average speeds. It's pushing me hard today. Anyway, the rocks here are called aeolian, meaning they're wind-driven sand dunes. And when you drive something with wind, it sorts the grains very, very well. So all the sand grains in there are very much the same size, very similar. And what that allows the rock to do is behave like its parent element or mineral. Its parent element is silica. Its parent mineral is quartz. That's what sand's made of, is quartz. Same thing windows are made of, glass is made of. Glass without plastic in it. Okay, so these rocks behave like glass. So what happens when you shatter glass is it shatters in a conchoidal fracture. Conchoidal just means it's arcuate, which is what you see in these canyon walls, all these arcuate holes. And that's because the rock, as it's been uplifted to, well, we're at 6,000 feet above sea level. These things were at sea level when they were deposited. As they've been lifted 6,000 feet in the air, they've cracked, fractured, and they've done so conchoidally. And those fractures get water in them, wind, and the rock eventually falls off. And the wind starts howling in those caves. Before you know it, you got a window. And if it keeps going for a long, long time, you get arches, just like in Utah. Okay, so I'm glad you're here to witness. We're crossing into New Mexico. That's 2 states down. California and Arizona are behind us. Hello, New Mexico. So, we got a good ride through this state. We're going to be going through Gallup first. We're going to cut north off the I-40 and start heading up to Santa Fe and Taos. We won't go through Santa Fe, but we will go through Taos. And that's where we'll make our final ascent and climb over the Continental Divide at Angel Fire. And we'll come down that side and knock out another state and then start riding to the Great Plains. So it's pretty exciting to be 22% into this ride. I can't believe we're that far along. The days are just speeding up now. Okay, beautiful scenery. Hoping that rain will stay away. It's nice and cool out here. Woo. Joe and Matthew are a little bit behind me. Trying to make sure we beat the sunset today. Get this 31.6 miles in. So they elected me to keep the pace. Alright, so today we're riding for understanding happiness. Day 22 is understanding happiness. Alright, if you're following along in the scriptures, and these posts are based on the scriptures, we've been going through the Old Testament. We went the last week or so, we were going through Psalms chapter 23, verse 1 through 6, which is also the number for our ride, 2316, where we rode for mentors, students, leaders, the team. A great part of the checklist. And now we're moving into Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13, and 13 through 18. If you want to follow along the next couple days. Today's verse 13, chapter 3. So Proverbs is an interesting book because, well, a lot of people think it was written by Solomon. He gets the credit, but it's actually a compilation of all of the wisdom that was gathered over 1,000 years. During the reign of the Israelites, after they left Egypt and set up shop in Israel, they compiled all of their wisdom from all of their wise men, prophets, and everyone else that had a good idea. They compiled it into one volume in this Proverbs. So I think it's a pretty good place to look for wisdom. Wisdom's in there, and it's, not a million pages long. It's been abridged, and Proverbs has been abridged and concise, and that's why so many people love it, because it has so many great one-liners. So, Tina. So we're in Proverbs chapter 3, verse 13 through 18, this next several posts. So today is writing for understanding happiness. So what does that mean? Well, if you ask anybody what their definition of happiness is, it's going to be different. Just like you ask anybody what their definition of love is, it's going to be different. We try and keep it simple by saying it's free, first and foremost. And what is happiness? Well, there's a simple formulation for happiness. Simple in that it's easy to say, but I wouldn't say it's easy to understand, especially since it took these guys 1,000 years to compile that saying and vet it and then put it in the Proverbs. Before I tell you that scripture, I would just ask you to think to yourself, what is your definition of happiness? What is my definition of happiness? When I get up every day, what is that definition? What am I trying to do? First of all, happiness comes from a chemical response in your brain, whether through adrenaline or dopamine, endorphins. Our brains are wired to give us chemical responses to make us feel good and happy. That's a pretty cool design. Whew. They're also wired to make us feel like crap. So that's also an interesting design. And it might lead you to think that we might have a choice as to how we want to feel. If you believe you have a choice, then you have an assumption to make about what is your formula for happiness. Because I don't think most people want to be sad and depressed every day. They're looking for the chemical rush that's going to give them happiness. And so there are lots of ways to get that chemical rush. I've experimented with several. Sugar. Sugar's the easiest one to get a hold of. That gives you a nice response. But you have to pay attention to the reward, because it made me fat and slow and unhealthy. My blood pressure went up, and my teeth decayed. And my teeth are yellow, which I use to scare my children into brushing their teeth. So I guess I had a good reward in a way, but I'd rather have a healthier body. So sugar's one experiment I've done to make myself happy. Started that when I was a little kid. And it was caffeine. That one gives you adrenaline and dopamine, so wow, it's like a twofer. Caffeine is awesome, helps you focus, helps you wake up, helps you get things done, which makes you feel even better. Woo! That sounds like a nice formula for happiness. So, let's drink caffeine every day. That's a good formula. Okay. Then I tried alcohol. Started with a little beer, Yeah, that was awesome. That makes you feel happy too. Makes you love everybody. Takes away your fear, anxiety, and that's a great chemical rush there. Especially when you start getting into whiskey and scotch. That's some good stuff. Tastes like Band-Aids at first, but then you get used to it. Woo! That is some good stuff. And I thought, man, I do this a couple times a week, I'm going to be a happy guy. So I tried that for a while. That's pretty awesome, man. Some awesome friends doing that with. And, but ultimately it came down to the reward. And so, whatever that is, if you're moving on to drugs, whether it's marijuana or hard narcotics, okay, same thing, right? You're just trying to find your happy formula. What's wrong with that, right? Everybody has the right and freedom to find their happy formula. Everybody has the right to be happy in life. That's part of understanding that you're freeborn. So, awesome. So, if we know that we have a choice to be happy, most of us are choosing to be happy, do we really understand the formula that's getting us there? And is it repeatable? Well, yeah, to a certain extent, I can have sugar every day, or caffeine, or alcohol, drugs. I can repeat that real easy. Very repeatable. And I get the same response for a time. But is that the reward that you seek? Is that the kind of happiness? And me personally, I also experimented with Prozac and a bunch of other mind-altering drugs to try and get my dopamine and other chemicals in balance. Great solution for a while. I'm telling you, all of those things I've tried have had side effects. And I didn't like any of them because they put me in a box. They classified me, they put me in a box. They said, you're going to be here. This is your formula. And what I found, what the ultimate long-term reward was numbness. Oh, numbness feels good, especially on the bike. My feet are numb right now, so it's so dang cold. I've been pedaling for so long, but I don't mind because I can't feel them anymore. Numbness is great. I'll tell you what, when you get off this bike, they're gonna hurt. Woo! So, there's a choice there. So, what I'm trying to get at is there's a choice to how you want to get your happiness. Everybody has the right to do that. So, I guess the question I would ask myself today is, do I understand that formula, and is it a good one? Is it one that I can live every day repeatably? Is it one that I can pass down to my girls, my two beautiful girls, as a way to find happiness in their life? Because they're 3 and 7 and they don't know. So do I have a good formula for them that I can pass on? Ultimately, it boils down to something I heard today on an audiobook by Audio Shunt. It's a great share that Dusty shared with me yesterday. It's a book called Falling into Grace, I believe. And in that, he's not talking about happiness, he's talking about suffering. Where does suffering come from? And he makes a very keen observation. At some point when we are growing up, we start to believe that the thoughts in our head are the truth, and they're real. And once that transition takes place, we can then put ourselves in a box, shut down the brain, and just start getting lost in our thoughts. We can shut down all everything else in our lives and just get shut down and we're lost in our thoughts about how am I going to be happy every day. Because we believe what we're thinking. And that's a very interesting thought as I think about that. So it seems the reason that we're all so darn unhappy all the time, and there's so much suffering in the world, is that we're all so narcissistic that we believe our own thoughts, that they're real, and they're more true than someone else's. That we need to fight for that truth that's in our head, instead of coming together as a group and discussing these things, which is why I love Proverbs. Oops, it's getting a little windy. Let me try to cover my mic. So I love Proverbs because it's a compilation of all of the wise over 1,000 years discussing this topic, this very topic. So they've come together, they've gotten outside of themselves. They've gotten out of their blissful state, which is a state where you are caught in your own thoughts and don't consider anyone else's. And they've brought these ideas to the altar and sacrificed their own ideas for the good of everyone else, so that we could all understand these rules of life and figure out this fundamental question: what is happiness and how do I repeat it? How do I understand it? Alright, so here's the big reveal. If you haven't gone to Proverbs chapter 3 verse 13 already, I'm going to paraphrase it because I don't memorize things very well, but it says, happy is the man that findeth wisdom and that getteth understanding. Wow, really? 1,000 years of thinking and philosophy and trying to figure this out, and that's the answer. Happy is the man that findeth wisdom and gaineth understanding. Okay. So I thought it was alcohol and caffeine and tobacco and all these other things that make me numb. Well, maybe those things are found in wisdom. I don't know. So you start looking through the rest of the verses there, all the way to verse 18, and you find the definition of wisdom. The definition of wisdom is wisdom contains length of days in its right hand and honors and riches in its left hand. Okay. Length of days. Well, I might want to rethink my dependency on sugar and alcohol and tobacco or caffeine or whatever has helped me be numb, because that's not going to lengthen my days. That's a proven fact. And I might want to consider the honor and riches of my life. What does that mean? Well, I might want to consider how I'm giving and receiving my emotional wealth, my physical wealth, and my financial wealth. Okay? So that's bringing me full circle back to our message for this ride. It's the health, wealth, and well-being tour. Because that is the definition of wisdom. It's right there in Proverbs. Length of days, that's your health. Honors and riches, that's your wealth. And your wisdom is your well-being. How you think about being is your wisdom. Now ultimately, that will give you some happiness, and it's repeatable. But it doesn't end there. There's more to that formula. But it's simple, just like the formula I'm telling you now. So, those are the definitions in the scriptures. Those are the words that we call them now. But, call them what you will. Call length of days a red bird. call honors and riches, greenhouse gases. I don't care. Call them what you want. But let's all have the same definition as close as we can and not get lost in the words. Because there's a fine line there. As we get lost in the words, that's where suffering comes from. We start pigeonholing ourselves with words, and it's very isolating. Isolates us from those around us and the relationships in our lives with God, ourselves, our family, our friends, and our fellow men. All you got to do is look at the political debate going on right now to see this very same thing happening. We're all talking about the same thing. We all want a better country. We all want good leaders. But we can't get past the words. Nobody's focused on the definitions of what it takes to run a country, what we need. Nobody's looking at the checklist for those things. It's just one-off words and quotes that's fueling the debate. So we're all talking different languages, and that's very isolating. So my challenge to you today, as this wind picks up, is to... Oh, hold on, there's our car. And I'll give you the challenge. Check in with Dina here. Woo. Hello, you're on Periscope. Oh, let me turn you around. Woo, where are we at? 25 miles, okay. I'm going to the end. I don't know, they might be a couple miles back.
They're still going.
Last I saw.
Oh, I haven't heard anything from anybody, so
Okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to make it before sundown, and then we'll see where we're all at. Okay. Yeah, no worries. I'm good. I got food. I got water. I still have some energy. Yeah. What's that? Yeah, maybe. Alrighty, we'll see you at the finish line. Thanks for checking on me. Alright, bye everybody. Okay guys, so the challenge today is, do I understand what my formula for happiness is? If I understand it, is it something I can pass on to my family, friends, my fellow man, and uplift them and enrich their life? Help them understand. And is it a formula that's repeatable? Where I can repeat it every day and not isolate myself from others, from my family, friends, fellow man. I can tell you right now that's what I was doing before I came out here. I was trying lots of different things to be happy. In fact, I went through 5 different jobs in 5 years because I was hoping one of them would make me happy. Every time I quit, I'd hear in my head, and I'd hear from other people, man, what is it going to take to make you happy? So that was a really good job, really good opportunity. And, well, I didn't know what it was going to take to make me happy. I could not answer that question. Over and over I tried to answer it. And all I can tell you now is the steps that I took through the chemical, trying to get the chemicals going, is what isolated me. I didn't talk to my friends for a long time, my family, and I certainly didn't talk to my fellow man because I didn't want to have anything to do with them. I wasn't a happy person. I didn't want to talk to them if they were happy. Man. And if they were unhappy, I had no answers for them. So, whoo, the wind is gone. Yay. I can show you some more scenery. So, now I'm on a quest here to figure out what my formula for happiness is. And so far, it's hard work. Being out here on this bike gives me the natural chemical reaction I need every day to repeat my happiness so I can keep going and ask my questions. Grace is definitely part of the formula. By being merciful with yourself and realizing that all you can do is your best. And if you fall down, you get back up and you do your best again. You forego judgment of yourself and others. That's an important part of the equation for happiness. One that I'm still working on every day. Probably will be till the day I die. But when I do it, it gives me that chemical reaction, that reward I'm seeking to find happiness. What a strange world we live in. We're wired to find reward in everything we do. So, is this just some Matrix game? Or we're all sitting somewhere being sucked dry for our power, electricity? It's just some video game where nothing matters. We can just, hey, do whatever we want, get that reward however we want to do it. I want to go kill a bunch of people today for a dopamine high and adrenaline. Well, let's do that. I want to go on a roller coaster today for a rush. Let's just do that every day. If that's what happiness is, then hey, sounds like a fun video game. Let's do that. But I don't know. This isn't a very fun game, being out on a bike every day, so I'm not sure how I'm finding happiness from it. Those are the rules of the game. Just go out and find things to give you an adrenaline and dopamine rush. I don't know, because this hurts. And every day, if I'm not being challenged physically, I'm being challenged mentally and emotionally. So what's that all about? What's the reward there? I don't know. So I'm going to keep asking the question until I understand what the formula is for happiness. Uncle Joe's got his formula. He's formulated it from Proverbs and several other places. He's got lots of references and things to back it up. He's put his formula to the test. He's put his formula to the test repeatedly. Those people yesterday, we talked to a quantum physicist. His face went red and he started twitching. And all he could do was come up with the answer, hey, it's subjective. It's different for everyone. And while I wholeheartedly agree with that, I also think there are enough clues. The scriptures are just in the physical world around us to start to define these things. All we got to do is start using the scientific method to test these things. This hard work make me happy. That's why I do some hard work. Test your hypothesis. There's enough of a community there that we can start to define these things.